9:28. We are going to talk about cocktails. Who's drinking them in your basement? Well, better not be kids who are underage. Rob Deutschmann joins us. Teen parties in the basement, rite of passage, or something you absolutely need to avoid? That is next on 570 News.
John Wilson's Weather Guarantee. Weekdays at 7:11. Only on 570 News.
I mean, if I had to confess, I'll confess about the teenage parties in a second, but if I had to confess, I'm not actually that upset by this wicked April burst of snowflakes because Scotty said to me, babe, we should really get outside and start cleaning stuff up this weekend. And we always have, it seems like every weekend there's something, right? We don't really have, I'm working tomorrow at Hafner for the spring home and garden show that's happening there. But then I have the rest of the weekend to not do anything. And I didn't really want to rake up garbage from the garden. So I just felt like I should get that off my chest. I might have put it in the universe that I didn't want to do yard work. So do you believe that when you put all the boots away? Things like that. And then it's your fault. It's your fault that the snow returned. But yeah, nasty drive out there this morning. 9:34. Thanks for coming back with us on Rogers Television. Channel 20 is where you're watching us and listening to us on 570 News. Okay, historically, we've all been to a party at someone's house. Their parents were gone, just the stars lined up, and you said you were going to sleep over. You're going to sleep at Melissa's house, but really you weren't sleeping at Melissa's house when you were a teenager. You were going to go to the party. Melissa said she was going to stay at your house, and those kind of shenanigans. Anybody ever get busted? One time I said I was sleeping at Melissa's house, and I wasn't. And then the next morning, Melissa called my house, and my father was not happy. So let's hear about your wild, wayward youth at star 570 or at 519-570-2545. Those parties you had at your parents' house. Some people, my parents let us have people over. I don't remember blatant drinking underage though. I remember being 19 and having drinks with my parents and friends over, but we tried to hide it a bit. But there was always those parents who kind of allowed it, and they thought, I'd rather it happens under my roof than gosh knows somewhere else. And let's be honest, we always found somewhere else too. Have you seen that internet meme? What does it say? Remember the good old days when you told your parents you were at Paul's house, but really you were dying in a field because you OD'd on vodka? Remember those bush parties and stuff there's always a place. You found a place. Webb's Hill. We nearly burnt that place down 18 or 19 times between grade 10 and grade 13. We did. Still fine. It's fine. What's the deal? What are the rules? Is it okay to have a party at your house to let your teenagers drink? What about their friends? What happens when cannabis is legal? Rob Deutschmann from Deutschmann Law joins us this morning. It's a whole lot of questions we've got for you, sir. Good morning.
Hey, Jennifer. Good morning. Now, I thought when you were talking about sleeping over at somebody's place, that was your last weekend, wasn't it? That you were talking about?
Gosh, I wish I still had that much fun.
Or energy, right? Yeah, exactly.
No kidding.
I know what you're saying.
So now...
I also wanted to say, Jennifer, though, you're talking about the snow and that I don't do family law. So, whatever your issues are with respect to, not doing whatever at home and all that stuff, that's a separate issue. I
got out of it. The Mother Nature, the universe, God, whoever you want to call it, she's blessed me this morning. So I'm out of the raking for this weekend anyway. So.
And your spouse is not angry. Good.
Yeah, it's not. That's a blame shift to the skies. Not my problem this time. He just can't. Are you like that? He wants to do things constantly. And
it's a May thing. You got to clean up the yard. That's not till May.
May. Yes, May.
Yeah, early May at the earliest.
But he's the kind of guy, though, that I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm replacing all the light switches in the house. I said, are they broken? He said, no, I don't like the color of them.
Wow. You are lucky.
I am lucky.
I just want to say that. You
I
are
know.
lucky.
Deep down, I know that. It just gives me guilt to sit there and have a glass of wine, Anyway.
And pass him the screwdriver.
Uh-huh.
Only it was a drink. But
that's
another story.
Yeah.
Okay, you were talking about pizza earlier, and now we got a theme. You're talking about kids in the basement with alcohol and cannabis and other things.
Well, we used to say it was a pizza and like a pop and chip party, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a serious issue that you bring up this morning, talking about having those parties. And I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I just got through the teenage years with my kids, and I know some of the issues that happen out there, and I see with some of my friends. And there are parents out there that will say, hey, I'd rather have them drinking at my house than drinking at some other person's house. Well, that being said, you do expose yourself to a lot of risk if you have them all over at your house, drinking at your house, and they're underage. Okay? It is a potentially significant issue, particularly if they go out and have an accident.
And this social host liability,
social host, yeah.
Not even specific. I mean, you have the problem, first of all, when it's teenagers that probably some of them are underage. But this social host liability goes for people who are of age, are adults, who can make their own choices. And you can even be in big trouble for letting people drink at your house if they make a poor choice when they walk out your front door.
Not as much.
Okay.
So not as much. There was a case in, I think it was 2006, called Childs and DeZormo, where the Supreme Court talked about social host liability. And they distinguished that from commercial host liability. So if you're a restaurant or a bar who's operating, selling drinks, making money, presumably trained with Smart Serve, et cetera, you're going to have a higher level of responsibility to the people that are drinking at your establishment. The Supreme Court of Canada, though, when you read that decision, kind of said, look, this is not the same as a commercial host liability situation. And also, as a social host, we don't want to put in too many restrictive covenants or guidelines that would make it difficult for people to get together, because they recognize, hey, we're a social society. We need to be able to get together and enjoy each other's company. And that will involve drinks. So in that case, they were all older people above the drinking age. And in fact, one of the party goers or the attendees at the event was known to have a drinking problem. So he comes, he drinks, he leaves in his car with some other people, has an accident. One person's dead, another person's paralyzed, and a case is brought against the owners of the home who hosted the party. And the Supreme Court said, no social host liability, no liability in that situation.
Okay.
However, though, they did say there could be instances where you could be found liable. And two of them would be one where, let's say, you took virtually forced a drink on this guy, one for the road, here you go, gave him a big toxic something or other, and he downs that, and you say, here's the keys, and off you go. I mean, in that situation, you could be potentially found liable for contributing to that situation, but it'd have to be fact-specific. The other case, though, is what they call where there's a paternalistic role. And this is the area that there are a number of cases that have been percolating through the courts where they say, look, if you've got kids at your home who are underage, then you could face some responsibility in that situation. And the reason I bring that up is there were two instances, one in Ontario and one in BC, where coincidentally they were both 19-year-old birthday parties. And if you're not just turning 19, you're going to have some friends who aren't 19.
Right. Yeah.
And so a couple of them in those situations got drunk, got out and drove. In one instance, there was a fatality. In another instance, the person was a quadriplegic after the accident. These are the types of cases that you fear the most. And these are the types of cases that a personal injury lawyer will take to the max, because the damages are significant. You're talking about multi-million-dollar situations here. And in those cases, what happened was the defendants tried to get the case kicked because they said, hey, this is a social host situation. It doesn't apply. But the courts in both those instances said, no, this could go on and it should be tried because of the specific situation, the facts in this case, that you were dealing with minors, and you have to take more of a responsible role when you do that.
Yeah, and listen, I got to say, and not that anybody's yelled at me yet, but it could happen. So, I saw a lot of. I grew up in a very small town. There were 3 major accidents involved. One of them was I think I was 16, and I went to 4 funerals and 4 wakes in 3 days. And let me tell you, yeah, it was bad. And I'm
alcohol related.
Alcohol related, and it's now these people weren't at a house, but I'm not making light of the situation. Nothing terrifies me more than teens with cars and booze. Half of me just wants to absolutely forbid it. The other half of me knows that that's just not going to work.
There. Our parents have been there.
Yeah.
Our parents' have been there. I mean, this is teenagers. We're all teenagers at some point. We've all been through that, and we've all experimented, and we've taken risks, and we can all tell stories where we look back and say, "Oh my God, I don't know how I got through the '80s, or I don't know how I got through the '60s," and so it is unfortunate. But as parents, you just have to recognize now that there is this significant responsibility that you have, and if someone and so look. We always say, have that conversation with your kids, right? And say, look, if you're at a party and you're drunk, just call me.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to yell at you. We're not going to, I'm not going to tear you up and down or anything. I'll just come pick you up, bring you home because I want you to be safe.
Yeah.
You got to have that conversation. And if you are going to host that party, in one case, the parents were in the home. They saw the kids coming up and down. They went downstairs and saw the alcohol and everything else. And yet you really, though, have to take a lot of steps to make sure that those kids are going to get home safe. And that could mean calling their parents to come pick them up, taking the keys or what have you. But that is the risk and the extra steps you're going to have to take if you're hosting a party with young children.
Yeah. What will it's hard to say when pot is legal. I mean, anything that will happen because this is all entirely new ground here for us. But I mean, will this get worse as a liability after July 1st in Canada? Will it remain the same? Is that too hard to predict?
I think the issues are still going to be the same. Okay, the impairment by some substance, alcohol, cannabis, what have you. Is an issue that's going to have to be addressed. It may be a brave new world for a lot of people because many of us have experience with alcohol. Not as many have experience with recreational drugs. So, it's going to be a brave new world, strange new world for a lot of parents now dealing with something that's legal. And, it's just going to be the issues are still going to be the same. You're going to have to really be vigilant when you've got young people. But once they're over 19, they're adults. The courts recognize that they are responsible for their own actions unless you participate in making their situation worse in some way.
Rob Deutschmann, I always put you in an uncomfortable position before I let you go. Did you let your teens have any parties at your house?
No. This is my thing, okay? I said to them, as they went through high school, I said, look, take it easy on the old man, because when you're off to college or university, you can party your brains out and I won't know anything.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, and when it must be tough. I mean, I would imagine being a lawyer or a police officer or a position like that. I mean, puts you even more of an elevated kind of, you got to draw a line in the sand because there's certainly no pleading ignorance.
No, you can't be ignorant. No, that's for sure.
It's always so good to talk to you, sir. Even when it's serious, we have so much fun with you. Thank you for always taking the time.
The only thing I'll say is it seems all these legal matters have a personal theme with you, Jennifer, so I'm not sure where this one is, but we'll just leave it at that.
I know, it's true, isn't it? My wayward youth. I'll tell you, I like you said, it's a wonder I'm here today, but it's a miracle of some sort. Thank you, sir.
Hey, have a good day, and drive safe out there.
Yes.
There's a ton of accidents going on with this stuff, so be careful.
Wild weather.
Today.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Have a great weekend.
Jennifer. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye. Rob Deutschmann from Deutschmann Law. Well, that's what terrifies. We're going to take a check on traffic in just a second here and have a look. But